just kidding, of course. Just partially tearing them apart. And we're starting strong, at least almost. This is a great example of a good painting almost ruined by bad material choice. It's shiny in some areas, and then it's matte and dull and lifeless in other areas. This is probably due to bad material choices. So either the paint is cheap, or the canvas is cheap, or the preparation of the canvas is cheap. So here's something you can try out. Go to the art store and buy the cheapest canvas you can find. And then you get a canvas that's moderately priced, or maybe a bit more premium. And then you go back home and you paint one and the same image, painting, drawing, whatever it is, onto both surfaces and see for yourself what difference it makes. You will be surprised how big the difference is. But the painting is nice. Well done. Here's I guess, an attempt at photorealism. It's been made to look like a photo, which is, I guess, a topic that one can debate on. Photorealism is the easiest and least complex style of art, and it doesn't require the same skills and the same expertise and years of practice that other types of art or genres of art require.
Just
Maybe
gave all of
that's
that,
my take, yeah, but
and
at least in
you
my
guys didn't hear
personal
me.
opinion, if there was a ladder of disciplines, photorealism would be at the very bottom of it. This is a good attempt at.
Okay, so essentially what I was saying, he talks about going and get other canvases, right? He talks about going and try different types of paint, but if you look at this person's work, there's a lot of black and dark colors in his work with these pop outs of white, which I'm assuming, and seeing as you can see here, he put that as his, like, it's whatever. That's what he likes to do. He likes to make it very dark with pops of white to kind of show shape and form. And so, I mean, this even kind of looks like acrylic paint, but if it's like me, I use certain colors more than I use other ones. I do tend to kind of use darker colors like blues and blacks and deep purples more than I would use my whites or my yellows. Not here lately, but what happens is you hold on to these paints, because I've had some paints that I've had for like 10 years, 10, plus 7 years. And a lot of these lighter colors will dry out, right? They'll just dry out, right? So you don't have to go get you don't have to go get different types of canvases. If you shop at places like Hobby Lobby, or Michael's, what you're going to find is you're going to get the $40 canvas or the $50 canvas, and they're going to feel the same, right? Just look at them before you buy them, but chances are they're going to be made the same way. What's actually happening here is this person more than likely has either different priced paints that they have, right? Or they've had certain paints that they've held on to much longer than other ones, so they're starting to dry out. A good way to fix this is just go and get like a little $5 bottle of varnish and spraying it on top of, this. Or, go get a wet bottle of varnish, just like the liquid. So it can all become one type of shine. It will get rid of some of your brush strokes if they're not like deep, come off the canvas type brush strokes. You won't see any of this, but it'll be one steady shine. That will also help protect your painting for a long period of time. But you're not going to find in a store, anyways, usually different types of canvases. They might have different brands, but normally they're kind of made the same way.
The canvas is cheap.
This is definitely the paint. This is not the canvas. I don't know what he's talking about.
That's something you can try out. Go to the art store and buy the cheapest canvas you can find. But the painting is nice. Well done. Here's an attempt at photorealism. It's been made to look like a photo, which is
No, it looks like a photo. I'm not great at like pinning these things out anymore since AI systems have come around. But I don't see, like, maybe in the stem how this doesn't fall back all that much right in here. I don't see
Here's
it.
a topic that one can debate on. Photorealism is the easiest and least complex style of art, and it doesn't require.
He's not wrong there. It takes the most amount of time, don't get me wrong. But if you paint by colors in a sense, right, you do the little boxes and then you kind of just draw the shapes out within those boxes and then you color them. It's paint by numbers. You took a photo of something and you replicated it. That being said, it does take an immense amount of time, and it still does take an immense amount of effort to make it look realistic. Like, even as I'm standing here, like, this could be a real photo, but like that doesn't look right to me.
Require the same skills and the same expertise and years of practice that other types of art or genres of art require. Maybe that's a hot take here, but at least in my personal opinion, if there was a ladder of disciplines, photorealism would be at the very bottom of it.
Again, he's not wrong, because there's so many ways to cheat that system other than doing it by freehand, literally just painting by boxes. Like, you try to take a photorealistic artist oftentimes and you say, hey, create this, whatever, and they'll be like, well, that's not my style. But in all actuality, neither is the photorealism. It's just kind of what you've taken and pasted on a canvas with certain types of materials, which again is hard to do, and a lot of people can execute it and make it look realistic, but it's a type of artwork.
This is a good attempt at it. It does capture some of the
Tooth decay. Reverse.
You gotta get that tooth decay. My enamel is like really bad. I never knew. I never knew what did that, and apparently like acidic things.
qualities
Salt,
of a photo.
chocolate.
Not quite, but it goes there. But then you also have to ask yourself, why would I want to do that? But yeah, I don't know. Like, let me know in the comments down below what your take.
This is one of my least favorite type of art forms. I don't think I can do it personally. I can't. It's too tedious. But I've never liked sitting here staring at something that somebody took a photo of. Just take the photo, learn that craft to take beautiful photos. Don't take some stock image and paste it. Spend all of these hours learning how to do this, because to me, you're not learning. It's like he's saying, you're not learning how to actually create these shapes, these forms, and understanding color dynamics and shadows and values and texture. What you're doing is literally looking at something what makes this that? What makes it look like that? You're copy and pasting, man.
Is on photorealism. Do you think it's nice? Do you think it's impressive? One thing I can tell you though, it is definitely the easiest. I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but it is definitely one of the easiest ways you can create realistic images. I guess I don't have to tell you that there's a nose.
Before he says anything, because the whole point of this video is just to flame people, so it's not. It's yeah. I'm not like counter. I'm like, he does his thing. I'm gonna let him do his thing. But this watercolor, I hate the fact that people are good at it just on a whim. Because I can't do watercolor at all. I get that these eyes are crazy, but I mean, look at that. Oh, this little softness in there. I mean, he could have done a little bit better up in here, maybe rounding this out, darkening this up a little bit more, right? Darken then, adding a little bit more flesh tones in there. This is definitely dead. That's dead. This is just a line. But,
Missing here, then again, a missing nose is the least of problems this guy has here. Self-portrait with Halloween eyes. My 6-year-old says he needs to close his eye. And I can totally see why he does that. But you know what?
I'm pretty sure this is the actor from the Addams Family, if I'm not mistaken. And he had the ability to pop his eyes out of his head. That might just be like, I don't know, my brain making up assumption. I'm not huge into Addams Family, but I know that that's a big thing nowadays. This was 4 months ago. That just came out like Wednesday was the name of the TV show on Netflix or HBO or something like that. So I can see why people are making fan art about it. But I think back in like the 80s, 70s, something like that, the Addams Family, this guy did that a lot. The only thing I would say is that you had spent so much time creating all of these textures and tones, but then just Halloween-eyed the eyes. I don't know if it was hard for you.
I still kind of dig it. Pretty cool. Just goes to show you that you don't have to have the greatest of skills if you can come.
I don't know, man. Even like it looks like they may have done that on like with gouache or a different type of paint, maybe in like a digital over top of this photo.
Come up with a funny, interesting, intriguing idea. Always the same. It's always like that. Very nice. It's a really nice scene. I love the freshness of the.
I don't know what to think about this. The thing that stands out to me the most is, first off, it's very well executed. It's very well rendered as well. This is verging on the whole like photorealistic thing, but it looks like they made this themselves, or maybe like cut it apart in a reference photo and put it together. The only thing that stands out to me the most, however, is first off this background kind of kills the painting just a tad bit. I don't know if they would have added maybe some other colors into it. I kind of think that they didn't because of these flesh tones in here. But the thing that stands out to me the most is juxtaposition, like how everything falls together. Like a lot of this is reading very right on top of each other because it's literally right on top of each other. It's hard, it's hard to read some of these images. He's fine, and she's kind of okay, but when you get up in here, it's just like flat a little bit. Like he's got dynamics, but it's hard to read all these little pieces and parts.
Colors. I love the movement. The only thing that kind of strikes me is that the pattern or the silhouette, the effect that's created by using a roller in the background, it does feel a bit simple. For example, you have this part here where there's just like maybe you can see it better here, yeah. Just like
this stands out to him because if you ever look at his artwork, I think that's some of it right there. He uses that as texture a lot to hide or to bring out certain forms of his artwork, creating texture and lighting or emphasis, if you will. So that's why it stands out to him. And then these are all people that love his artwork, so it's clear to see why they would do that. Also, this looks like oil paint on like board. Oh, beautiful. If that's like this big, that's so fucking hard to do.
Like one little block of paint over
It is
the
oil.
leg. It feels a bit like
something.
whoever created this.
I don't know how much centimeters are. Hold on, I gotta find out. Is it centimeters? Was that centimeters? One inch equals 2.5 centimeters. What did that say? 65. So 25 inches. That's fairly sized canvas. That's a fairly big canvas. Leading into the more
Was
bigger
kind of daring, but
canvases.
not daring enough, if that makes sense. I think a great way to explore these techniques.
I get why he wasn't daring. I understand why he is. Right. This person's probably, somebody that loves his work and has been trying to work with oil colors, but has only been focusing on how to use the oil colors, not how to express themselves with their paint. Right. And seeing him do it makes them want to do it. But all of this costs so much time and effort. Now that I'm really looking at it too, like her body's like stretched so far out.
Or this way of painting, and to make it more sophisticated would be to try to push it and go to the extreme at least once. Go crazy, go over the painting, all over it.
Instead of doing what he's saying, because you did spend a lot of time doing this, I would say take a photo of this, blow it up, right, and just practice, right? Make a couple of these photos and just practice. You don't even have to like go fancy with it and go get a $20, $30 printout painting. Just print out a couple of the little sheets, put them up until it's the size that you want it to be, and then tape it down and then practice over top of it.
And see what it does. Once you understand what it does and what you like and what you don't like, you can much better evaluate, where you want to use these things, rather than just having one tiny area where you put something like this. I'm just noticing right now that no one has painted any smiling people this time. I wonder why. Yeah, very nice. The way the fish are...
I feel like I watched that video too. He was talking about don't do all of the teeth. Because it's hard to do. It's hard to paint teeth and it not be weird. Our brains are afraid of things that want to eat us. So we focus on these things so much more. So oftentimes when I paint teeth, it's like the Pillsbury Doughboy smile, where it's just somebody stuffed Oreo cookies in their mouth. It's just a line in white.
arranged.
It's hard.
For a very nice composition and flow. The one thing that I would say could be a bit improved upon is everything is painted more or less equally and equally busy. If you had some areas that were a bit more uniform, or
maybe lower the opacity of some of these even. Like this is just as dark as this is. I get what he's saying. Or maybe kind of go the route of like pattern, like a broken pattern type scenario.
where you had outlines that are a bit sharper. Some focal points where occasionally when your eyes wander around looking at an image, they have something where they can rest, and it's not super busy wherever you look. But that's an easy fix. So this one actually suffers from a similar problem, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, he's kind of right again. Now it's like too much texture and it's consistent across the board. None of these colors break up anything. They're all kind of this warm shade except for the background, which is what you should be doing. But texture, pattern, texture, all the way through with only brief moments of like breathing, right? And it's only on parts that you're not really trying to focus on. Like you almost can do it in here, but there's not enough room for it to.
There's a lot of stuff going on here. You have animals, skulls, flowers, there's a key, there's like all kinds of symbolism going on, and everything is treated equally, more or less. The figures in the foreground are painted in the same way as the figures in the background. What you could do is simplify things in the background, or give the foreground even more attention. So even more detail, even more 3D.
Another thing you can do is change up some of those colors, right? Change up some of the saturation. We oftentimes think of texture and I don't know, the blurring effect to blur things in the background, but you also still have values, you still have patterns, and you still have saturation that you can use to show what should show emphasis, right? So if this is not nearly as important of this bird, maybe it shouldn't be on the same type of color or value scale as this bird. Like lessen it down, desaturate it a lot. Kind of same goes for the wolf, you know. Knock this down a lot to where it's almost fading into the background.
Dimensionality, but it's always nice to have contrast. I mean, it's like having a chocolate cookie without salt. Works, but it's
Contrast.
not nearly as good. Okay, oh, very nice. Super. Not nearly as good.
I really like this.
Okay,
Huh?
oh,
I feel like there's more to this painting, like it got chopped off. Let's see. I don't know, man. I like this one. I feel like there should be like a way for this to fall further into the background, kind of given that value scale again. And I see that you darken this area, but you left the eyes white. So either you were taking references off of a statue, right? Or you were actually using symbolism with your artwork, showing the lifelessness of this individual. Is usually what goes on with a white eyes. The other thing is omnipotence is usually seen in a lot of blinding white individuals. Like they can see things that individuals couldn't, even though they're blind. I can't tell if I wish I could talk to this artist, because this could be executed perfectly, or it could be executed bad. And here's the difference. If it was designed specifically to be a piece inside of a home, right? We have a store down the street from us called the Obelisk. It is a designed artistic gallery, but it's for design, right? If this was a designed art piece, it works because it's used to complete a environment. It's used to not take away from everything around it, but rather give addition to it. And that this works perfectly in that sense, because it's not reading as a owl with a key, with a flower, with a wolf, with a, it's reading as one symbol, one thing, very soft edges, and it's just kind of falling in the background. If that's what he's trying to execute, then he did it perfectly. If he's trying to express himself, however, I can't get any reading off of this other than a character with, blindness.
very nice. Super soft lips. It almost looks.
Old Spice pomade.
Old Spice. Spartan. This pisses me off. I'm so tired of being poor. Seeing people just like
And then you have the
carpool cars.
that complement the softness. So you have a contrast there. You have lines, but then you have also soft, round forms, and it works really well together. The one thing that maybe
Something that I would hate about this, if I was to do something like this, is I would hate to consistently see portraits. And here lately, like if I go to ArtStation, let's see. If you go to ArtStation or anywhere where there's a lot of artwork, that's all there is. It's just portraits or just characters, portraits, characters. You know, and that's not bad. It's not a bad thing. But I mean, earlier today, all right, they're kind of being like, here goes environments, here goes creatures. But earlier today, it was just nothing but portraits, nothing but. And I was like, great, you can make a face, you know, like let's see this, let's see more of this, right? Let's see more of this. I actually like this. I think I liked it. Yeah. I'm so tired of seeing just there goes another face. That's nice. Congratulations, you made a face, another face. You know, just kind of getting tired of it. Like this one kind of went out of the way to make a whole thing about it, like an Oni character, but I'm getting tired of portraits, man.
I can nitpick on here is I think you have to up your caption game here because people want to know about this. How is it painted? Why did you paint it? What's the idea? What's the This is also maybe a good piece of advice for people who are sharing what they do creatively with the world outside. Don't just send stuff into the...
Something else that he did really well, and it's so subtle, I don't even think he talked about it, but his background's green, and it's a soft green, while his foreground is a yellowish red, pink, and very soft peach as well, right? These colors contradict each other to make it pop even more, but they're not these overly saturated, contrasting colors that everybody's used to. Like if I'm going to have blue in the background, for instance, I know I keep picking on this painting, but if I'm going to have blue in the background, then I got to have red in the foreground, right? Whereas this one, it's a soft color of both, kind of desaturated with the light.
I think you have to... This is also maybe a good piece of advice for people who are sharing what they do creatively with the world outside. Don't just send stuff into the world and expect people to consume it, comment on it, like it, give something back. You have to give people a reason, and usually that is because they connect on a personal level, because they're connect to something you say, you write, you communicate in one way or another. And as nice as the image is, there is no real incentive or reason for me to go into this, to write, to comment, or do anything of that sort. But the painting is good, so maybe you don't care.
I will get on top of him a little bit about it real quick, though. In this background, you have this object, you have some little designs, and that's it. That's all you give me is a face bleached out, and then just a tiny little one. Bro, give me some more. Give me some more. I want some more texture. You can have it be feathered in the background, but I want more texture, please.
Anything of that sort.
If you have, if you're contrasting that subtly, that perfectively, contrast a little bit more with those designed objects like paints, you know, brush strokes or something.
The painting is good, so maybe you don't care. Oh, Samuel. Samuel is actually one of my patrons, which you can also become, by the way, and probably one of the most talented people I came across in a while. If I told you this is painted by a 17-year-old, you wouldn't believe me, but it's true. The thing, Samuel, you should work on is brush handling. The brush needs to become an extension of your hand and your finger, and when you can do...
I'm going to disagree with him. I think the problem with Samuel isn't brushstrokes. It's kind of painting by numbers. Like you sketch out what you want, right? And then you don't paint what you've drawn, but rather you paint within what you've drawn, right? How do I explain this? Because I know what he's doing, and I've done this, and it always looks weird, and it's looking weird now. Like he's only paying attention to how a face would show its values rather than creating the face, right? He's focusing on what parts of the face, the shapes that you need to see, the circulars, but he's not focusing on like how this previous guy was, how colors are blending together, how values should shape a certain object. Right? He's executing it beautifully, but it's not there yet. I don't know how to explain it, but it's painting by numbers, but in a different way. He understands how to execute this painting. He knows how to get from point A to point B, and he doesn't need help like watching or like necessarily looking at another photo. But he's not giving himself into the painting. I don't know how to explain it.
17-year-old, you wouldn't believe me, but it's true. The thing, Samuel, you should work on is brush handling. The brush needs to become an extension of your hand and your finger. And when you can do that, I guarantee you will be unstoppable.
Something I just noticed there is a lot of what I'm talking about probably could be changed through Samuel if he just did it on a bigger scale, right? Because right now it's very small, and he's probably not picking up on that either, but he's used to painting by like 36 by 40s. But as you can see here, this pencil, this is almost smaller than a piece of paper, a printer paper. So, I mean, very, very well done. And even in its size, it's just, you're more focused on completing the task and making sure that the shapes are there rather than expressing.
And when you can do that, I guarantee you will be unstoppable. Okay, this is actually...
The obvious thing is that they're painting what they're thinking rather than painting what they're seeing. But I'm going to give them props for paying attention to colors, right? And the contrast thereof. Because facial colors are actually quite hard to manage. They are. But goddamn, bro, if this face ain't split together in 18 different ways.
This I can completely tear apart. This is actually by my friend Astri, and this is a face that only a mother can love. This is a face that only can do that. This is actually by my...
Something that a lot of people do, and I did when I first started, was this. Right? I remember going to college, and my art teacher, who sounds an awful lot like him, but is not like 40 with kids in college and high school. Don't paint the hair strands. Don't paint the hair strands. Paint the hair, right? And they kind of did it over here, but they still weren't there very well, right? Let's see if I can. This is probably a bad example. Give me a second. It's also a bad example. None of these are painted. All these are digital. Oh, here we go. If you notice, these aren't all individual strands, but rather a shading color of multiple strands of hair, and allowing your brain to kind of come up with the rest of it. Like, this is just two colors right next to each other, right? Don't paint the hair strands, paint the hair.
My friend Astri, and this is a face that only a mother can love.
It's so weird because like that nose looks right to me, but it's not for this face. And like the eyes are correct, but this is not connecting with this palette right here. That's way too wide. Not, like it's flat. That's Frankenstein's wife,
This is
bro.
the stuff of nightmares. In honor of everything terrifying and Alpai's roast me videos, please do swipe Painting with and without reference. Being able to laugh at oneself, make room for failure, and yeah, okay, well, there you go, guys.
Much better. Much better. What the hell is that line, though? Does that look better without the line? Is that not supposed to be there? No, that neck would be far too small. I mean, unless it's like hiding into the hair. Nah, it still wouldn't work. I don't know. I like this, though. Looks good. It's kind of matching up a little bit down here. These eyes are a little bit further back. Or rather, this is a little bit further out. Yeah. This looks wrong. I don't know if it's the ear is too small or needs to be up higher. I feel like that's not how the hair parts either. And this is just all flat up in here. Again, you're painting the hair strands. It's like you were looking at a reference and you just kind of got lazy here at the end. But then there's stuff like this. It just sticks out to you. Don't do that. Do not do that. Even if the photo is showing you that, do not do that. Because that's exactly what my eyes went to the first time I looked at this. Was that strand sticking out because it's going the wrong way as everything else.
This is what happens when you paint without reference. This is painted with reference, and this is painted without a reference.
I feel like this was painted with reference, but I feel like it was a live reference, right? If I were ever to pull up my own old school college like live sketches, this problem would happen quite often. Like pieces and parts would look a little bit different, and that's kind of what I mean by this. Is because it looks like the head like got tilted back and then tilted forward and kind of pushed to the side. And I feel like this was a reference, but it was a live reference that she was painting from or drawing from.
So you would need to have a vast understanding of a whole bunch of different things to create an image or a painting like this without reference. Even the greatest artist you can imagine probably uses reference in one way or another. And
they almost all do. Almost all of them do. He does on a constant basis. He's amazing.
And that is completely fine. So if anyone ever again tells you that real artists don't use reference or anything like that, just show them this painting here. Now, before we move on, I would like to thank this video sponsor, which is once again Skillshare.
I keep forgetting that exists.
Out there for lighthearted, I suggest you not only check out Skillshare, but in particular this class here from my fellow. A fun, lighthearted approach.
I never liked this guy's artwork. Jazza. I don't know, man. I feel like it's a lot of hype, but not a lot of like he's good, but like that one, this drawing looks amazing. I just never liked his work. Now I feel like I gotta look at his work and figure out why that is, because I haven't looked at it in forever. I think it was kind of because when I first started watching him, I was super into my own mind as a person. I wasn't very open to the world at all. And so, like, my background instantly understood that his background was different from my own, and I wrote it off completely. But even as I'm staring at it now, it still does feel like he doesn't have like any of the core foundations solidified in concrete, and rather he's just good at marketing himself very well. You know, drawing all the individual strands of hairs. That saturation just feels way off. I don't know what he's like going after, but it definitely feels like he's just really good at marketing. Some of it's pretty cool. Like, that's pretty well done. That red isn't for that face at all. That's way too much saturation in the mouth. But like this feels like artwork that isn't really done by a pro, you know? I don't know how else to say it. It just feels like something that I would draw on a Tuesday. And then, you know, like this color combination, this color palette, that's its ass. I'm dogging on him. If he sculpted this, man, he's a way better sculptor. Way better. So I don't know why he doesn't just sculpt on a constant basis. But he's doing what he loves, you know? He's doing what he loves. This was well done, actually. It's a lot of expression in the face. I don't know if this is Beetlejuice or maybe just a crackhead. That's pretty well done. I'm trying to find his artwork. It's just his face. And he's definitely improved over the years. He used to look a lot worse. There's still some things that just feel a bit off. You know, right up in there maybe even. She was done pretty well, except her knee like just disappears and falls, I don't know, dislocated, broken right here. Right. He's done pretty well. That's all okay. Something's wrong up in here. I don't know what it is yet, but this doesn't feel right perspective-wise. This is all done well. Jazza. I kind of feel like he's one of those artists because I'm this way where when I'm in the zone, all I do is complete the work. I sit down, I draw until it's done, and I get up and I realize, oh, all of this is wrong. But it's because he didn't get up and step away to figure it out. That was done well. It was done pretty well. A lot of value, and it's like strong values. Yeah, little baby. We're talking about your art, not your babies. Like, you know, like that's not right. This line goes into this part of the thumb, right? Their teeth are like butt up against, you know, like even if it is a cartoon-ish, you know, like that's flat up against it. The head is warped in this almost oval shape. There's no foundation, man. And we have hundreds of thousands of people that's like, yeah, that's good, you know. That's always burnt me too, because you can have artists out here like this guy, 17-year-old dude that I've never heard about. It's like really killing it with artwork, or this dude, you know. And I will never hear them, but if everybody's like, he's got a smile on his face, then that's all you ever hear about.
Unlimited access for thousands of other classes for a whole month. I highly suggest you check it out, and let's move on and see what else we got. More nightmare stuff. I mean, it looks intriguing. Can I show this on YouTube? I mean, I don't even know what's going on, but it...
I'm not good at critiquing things outside of my own artwork. I don't know if he's the one that's blurring this. I doubt it. That's a very well good edit for something that's just like a throwaway episode, but I had my fill of this type of artwork maybe early 2000s. No, sorry. Around 2015, 14-ish, when I was in high school. It was, I don't know, it was like a trend back then to get that Clay guy, if you remember. He came out, and then everybody else was like, oh, he's getting views because he's just crazy. So let's all do it. And then they all kind of hopped on this. It's been around for a while. I don't know what type of art this would be called, but it falls under the same type of like Marilyn Monroe, or Marilyn Manson rather, and Slipknot, right? They have these crazy facial masks and paints on. It's Silent Hill was another one that inspired a lot of these artists, but it's just, I don't know. it feels like it should be more for like a movie or a TV show than it's ever felt like an expressive art form. And some of the things people say, it just doesn't seem to align with what they're doing to the point of view that they're saying. I've had some people. It's been so long since I thought about this, but I remember that thought crossing my mind. It was like it was like an artist who did these huge murals of photorealistic paintings from photo shoots with these little girls with like masks over their head and bullets and guns and stuff like that. And I think that one of the paintings was like, I don't know, trying to preach about war or something like that. And it was like either so on the nose that it's like you don't even have to really tell anybody that that's what it's about, or I can't remember, or it was like something way off course. It was like, why are we? What is with the little girl that's chained up? This doesn't make any sense.
It does look like you have to be over 18. It looks cool. I like the contrast between a realistically painted image and then these pixelated eyes here. It looks very modern.
If that's painted, that had to take a crazy amount of time.
Also the colors. It's all variations of gray and brown and flesh tones.
Not the pixels.
It makes for a very, very nice color harmony. The subject itself, I don't really know what's going on here, so I can't really comment on that. But
Scroll down a little
the
bit.
thing that I can
Probably
comment
saying
on, and
something
that is the bad quality of the photo.
Yeah.
I hate that. Even the pixels are pixelated here.
Yeah.
I would love to see this in detail, and I want to know what's going on and
Welcome to Instagram.
actually find out what this is, but I can't. So
Something that I would pick apart about this is the placement of this subject on the canvas. One of the first things you learn about when you go to college is design. Being a designer, right? Everybody wants to throw that title around. Oh, I'm a designer, right? Digital designer, whatever. But one of the first things you learn when you take those classes, 101, is stress points, if I remember correctly. And essentially what that is what is your eye drawn to the most because of the tension between two objects, whether it be why are you stepping my feet? It's my cat. Whether it be your character to the edge of your canvas, or this little area right here that's really drawn in because of this dark spot versus this dark spot. I would have to say for this painting, it feels unprofessional because of how close this is to falling off the side of the canvas, right? And this does look like it's on a canvas because of this like cast shadow over here, but that's one of the things I would say about it. He's right about the pixel thing, but that's just Instagram, right? Maybe you can change it, but I don't think you can. Just whatever you kind of put in there, they kind of drop it down like Facebook to the certain amount of pixels.
next time, up your photo game. That's my advice. Always love me a good chicken painting, as you know.
God. The shininess is my first go-to, right? You have all of this darkness. Pick a varnish. It doesn't have to stay shiny like this. Pick a varnish that's like matte colored to really pop out the contrast of dark and light.
Love them even more fried, by the way.
Or
Oh my
stain?
God. This is perfect. No pun intended. Beauty.
No, it's not. This line does not carry over here. I get that it might have been done with a reference photo, but when you repainted it like this, you're painting it how you think it should look, right? And if I were to execute it that way, I don't know this is how they executed it, but the way it looks to me is that this light is hitting them kind of straight on. Even with this fact that it's like hitting to the side of the eyes, That could be just, you know, like an artistic choice, but this flat layer should carry over.
Perfect. No pun intended. Beautiful. I love everything about it. Look at the brush strokes, the paint application. It's very, very nice. Almost a bit cartoony, but I feel like it even...
I feel like it could have been done better in the fur as well. Pushing those values a little bit more. It's kind of hard to do when you're looking at a reference to think about that. Your brain just goes into autopilot and you're just painting. But this hair could have definitely been sticking out more at you, just as this nose is, right? Or how this face kind of curves up because of the angles and these shapes. But this fur could have definitely had more texture to it to make it stick out towards you more often. Something else that's sticking out to me is that this is this orange color. I'm guessing again because of a reference photo. And this should have been carried out over along with it on this side. This whole side should have just been on this side. It would have looked so much better.
More so complements the subject, the cute fur ball that this cat is, yeah. I want to see more. Look at this guy. That's amazing.
See, like this one, I don't know if it's because of the reference she used. I'm assuming it's a she. Just assuming. But it's a lot more well executed. The subject is sitting in the center, right? It's not too far over, too far off. The background doesn't draw your eye away from this. Maybe just a little bit over here because it's so bright. His face is so dark. But a lot better executed.
That's amazing. Chefs.
Maybe in this particular instance, I would say render it a little bit more. The fur is painted too much. There's too much texture.
Kiss. Well done. As a runner, freelance painting for a newspaper puts me in a bit of a...
Again, foundations. I know I'm kind of like starting to just get like to the point where I'm just keep stopping, but look at that leg. That's wrong, man. You know that's wrong. You looked at it 800,000 times while you're painting it. Like, that's not how a foot is supposed to look. That's not how a foot is supposed to look. You know this. Do not do that. Another thing, I don't know why that is though, because like this is done right. Not here, right? When you get up further up here, like this is not how far, like essentially what you're saying is when she stands up from this point to this point is how thick the leg is. That's not true, but I don't know, like it seems better a little bit, I guess. Even if it's a cartoon, cartoons are based off of the anatomy of real life. You can't tell me that that's how the anatomy of a human looks. You can't. Some things that was done well is this hair is beautiful, right? They spent a lot of time on that. They cared about that a lot. This hand as well. They spent a lot of time on that. They cared about that a lot. But look at the shoulder, right? Look how broad that shoulder is, man. That's broader than my shoulders. Right? Bro got wingspan out here. Think about anatomy. If you need to, pull up them reference photos. Somebody holding their face like this, somebody crouched down, same direction. Draw boxes over those characters. Figure out where that box is supposed to be facing toward your thing. We'll give you some more props though for trying to keep in touch, at least a little bit, with the angle of the numbers instead of making them flat. So that's pretty cool.
Pickle, doesn't it? Because if I say anything bad now, then I'll say...
And go ahead and finish your background. I get that you probably had it drawn out, as you can see here. As there was like a sunset over here. You even did it on the skin. But I don't know if you got scared that you couldn't finish it right or something, or what it was. But go ahead and finish it, you know? Just desaturate it as it go further back. Toss a little bit of red in there, a little bit of blue. If it's a sunset, a little bit of red. If it's not, a little bit of blue.
There are some anatomical parts that bipedal creatures have that kind of look too short. And I'll leave it at that. What is this here? Now, that is an interesting story here. This is a commission I did for a close friend featuring a few of their favorite things. My brave, optimistic dog Oliver on another adventure facing. Or is this the... Did you paint the... Yeah, it's you! One of my favorite pieces from one of the last roast sessions. I assume this here is Oliver. Okay, let's see what kind of adventure Oliver is up to now. So, he was on a pirate ship, sailing the seas, and then somehow what started as a harmless adventure on a pirate ship has become an epic story of...
I can't think of anything to really pick apart here. The only thing I could get to is maybe the planes, right? Like vanishing points, paying attention to perspective, which is kind of hard to do when you have a curve in your work. Anything curvature. But like this is essentially what's going on here is your brain is looking at this and the way it's drawn is flat. It's like this. I don't know which direction I'm looking at when it comes to you guys, but it's a little bit like this. Right. But when you get from this point right up to where the dog is, the dog becomes, kind of like this, whereas the water was like that. That perspective changed dramatically. You have a lighthouse aiming at the dog. So I would say maybe darken him out a little bit more, add some more of the shadow to him, fade him into the background, because he is very saturated and detailed for something that's supposed to be bigger than a lighthouse and way the fuck out there, right? He's got a lot of details to him, a lot of saturation. His wings should look kind of like how his face looks too, right? Or vice versa. His face should look kind of like how his wings look. Desaturating that a lot. I would have added more emphasis on the dog because I didn't even see this when we first opened up. It wasn't until you zoomed in on it that I even saw the dog. Right, adding more light to the dog because it kind of feels like this is what's supposed to be the main part of this painting, and this is the focus. This is what I look at every time.
A dog against
Reverse that.
The forces and creatures and
that's what you want
demons from the underworld. Love it. Now I'm curious, how does the story continue from here? Yeah, fantastic. The frame here though is wild. Is this a real frame? Is this painted? Is this digital?
I'm guessing.
This guy, yeah. The more I see it, the more I like it. What can I say? Kind of a twisted mind, I guess.
It's not that bad.
We have a guy surprised by a shark. Well, take.
Let's say saturation is key here. The exposure of light is so intense all throughout the entire painting. This is the only dark spots, right? Where you should have it up in here, dark up in here, dark, right? But it's like there's an orb of light, maybe like just right here, and it's bleaching out everything.
A bath, and then also some koi fish. There's a octopus coming out of the toilet. Nice.
Work on your perspectives.
We got some penguins. Are the penguins fishing? Or no, is the octopus fishing? Okay, it's getting better and better. The more I look at it, the more I'm intrigued. Oh, we even got a process. I actually like it the way it is. The way I see it, not every work of art needs to be perfect.
No, it doesn't.
In order to be interesting,
no, it does not.
Or worth hanging on your wall.
The only reason I talk about these things like this is because these are things that stick out to me as soon as I look at it. So if you're a consumer, when you look at artwork, right, you're thinking, you don't understand why you don't like something, right? People, when they're consuming, when they're buying things, when they're walking down a Walmart aisle and they're looking at stuff and they're like, I like this over this. They don't really know why they like certain things over certain things. Their brain is wired in such a way of survival mode through generational, right? So they're looking at, saturation, contrast. This is why when you go to like a candy aisle, you're seeing very vibrant colors. Right? Shit's hitting you in the face, bold colors, bold lines. And you're more likely to pick up something that you look at more often than you are to pick up things that, fade into the background or bleached out, right? It's just one solid little design because your brain is meant to survive in a world where it will notice certain things over other things as either being threats or being things to consume, right?
So the only thing that strikes me now is that we got some fisheye effect and perspective going on the right side, but we have none of that on the left side or any other side for that matter. It's not a big deal because
it's doing it pretty well right there. It's doing pretty well right
part of
here.
the painting, so it's not very
It is
noticeable,
lost here
but it is distinctly
tremendously.
different from the rest. So maybe that's something to keep in mind for the next painting. Okay, what else do we have? Let's see. This one here, meh. Okay, this one.
Meh. Just walks over it. I like how a lot of these are like looked at the most.
This one here.
Meh. Ah, that's why. It's his own artwork. I was like, this is actually really good. What are you I was like, maybe this little eye looks a little weird. Right? I feel like that face is curved out a little too much, maybe. But that was the only thing that stuck out to me. It's just like, meh. What?
Meh. Okay, this one is also kind of wild.
We did everybody else. Hold on. Let's go over you. So, something that this painting is trying to do, usually when they have like these huge backgrounds like this, they're wanting you to focus on just one thing, and that's how portraits work, right? But the thing is that her face is so saturated, right? That you have these brief, rich moments of color, deep, dark, and then the armor seems to have the most play of this. The flowers, even if they were saturated with more blues and maybe with the eyes as well, instead of falling out into this bleached out white, right? I feel like that would be a lot more eye focus on it. Maybe even just like keep the face the way it is, but have the light shadow that's clearly hitting her from her, left temple. Knock this line a little bit more into this type of saturation and then bring out these blues all the way down, right? Because we're focusing a lot on this, and this seems boring. If I'm being honest, it's beautifully executed. And that's why I like this guy so much, because he is such an amazing painter. But it's like we're focusing on the wrong things. We're just barely getting a glimpse of this eye, right? Like if you like blur your eyes a little bit, if that makes sense. If you like blur your eyes a little bit, you'll see the certain things that I'm talking about that sticks out to me the most. And it's this chin, this armor, a little bit of the lips, and that's pretty much it. Like this all falls together with textures, and the saturation's kind of all equally through the same. That's it. That's something that could have been done better. It's just really put blue into this, and that would have made the weight of this armor not be so heavy as it probably literally is on this painting.
Meh. Okay,
Meh.
this one is also kind of wild, but I actually like it a lot. What does it say here? Repost of Igor for Roast Me Alpine because
Igor.
I would love to get a sarcastic.
I keep forgetting what this is actually from. Frankenstein's monster, maybe? But that is, I don't understand how that aged. So, like, it's, if you go back and watch it now, it's almost like people in modern day made this, and it's so funny.
critique from art.
An 8-foot tall gorilla.
Well, unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, Michelle, but I have nothing bad to say about this. I love it.
I do. I'll roast you. I don't know, man. You did kind of do this pretty well. I would have to say that the light, like right here, here, and here, just there's other edges in here that should have gotten that same treatment. Is definitely with the eyes, and it didn't. So you essentially your value scale could have been a little bit more potent. If we just go back a couple of to
This one is also this one, yeah.
right, like how it's very potent right up in here, but then gets much darker down in here. It doesn't have to go straight to black, but like there's white. It's a soft light, but then there's this potent dark against it. You know.
Meh. Okay, this one is also kind of.
And just showing those shapes on here would have been beautiful. Like this little triangle shape right up in here. Maybe a little bit of texture, like the little pores or taste buds have been pretty cool.
Wild. But I actually like it a lot. What does it say here? Repost of Igor for Roast Me Alpai because I would love to get a sarcastic critique from Alpai. Well, unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, Michelle, but I have nothing bad to say about this. I love it. I love the coarse texture of the canvas, the paint application. I love the calligraphy here in the foreground. The only thing I would love to see is how the painting looks in its entirety. Some kind of context. How big is it? Is this the whole painting or is this just a small part of it? Other than that, very good painting. Took me 22 years? Okay. Well, good for you.
Good for you. I'm guessing he's like talking about 22 years of practicing art, because everybody makes that joke. I've made that joke. It only took me 13 years, but this is I would imagine pretty hard to do, and also very easy. Right? If you ever sit down and if you ever had like a creative writing class where you're just like talking about things as you're just writing them out as you think about them, which I'm proficient at for some reason. It's kind of the same idea. What you do is like you put certain things down. Like this book was clearly drawn first before a lot of these other things, and this would have been drawn, right? And then this would have been drawn, and this would have been drawn, and this would have been drawn. What you're doing is you're drawing something in the foreground, like a plunger or a book, or a fish head or Pac-Man or whatever, and you just draw something else behind it, and you just kind of keep doing that over and over and over again. The only thing that he needed to focus on was how far out or how big in comparison to other things are. Right? You can see the same kind of shape being replicated multiple times, right? Multiple times, and it's just drawn a certain type of way.
Doesn't look like you were bored the past 22 years. Whatever floats your boat. Got some more miniature painting. I swear I have whatever. Well, good for you. Doesn't look like you were bored the past 22 years. Whatever. So,
I mean, these have always intrigued me. When I was a little kid, there was a Where's Waldo type book, or an I Spy type book. Stop fucking shit up. Where it was kind of drawn like this, but it was a bunch of like monsters inside of a haunted house. If I could find that book, I swear to you, I could tell you the reason why we exist in this world. But it was a book, kind of drawn in the same way. I'm getting off track, but if you look closely, you can see a lot of these kind of sort of come out of place a little bit. but it's just keeping relatively all to the same size as you keep going. That's how that works. Is you just draw something behind it, but you keep to that same size, and then you use the value to kind of break it up even more should things be too saturated or too white rather, to make them fall into the background a little bit.
Floats your boat.
And just keep doing
Got
it.
some
Keep
more
doing it, keep
miniature
doing
painting. I
22
have
years.
everything you need. I have paints, I've got the miniatures. It's all in a box in my printing room. I just couldn't find the time. I have it on my list. I still want to do it. I still want to try it, and I'm 100% gonna do it.
They are so hard to paint. If you've been painting like how he does professionally on like fine art paintings, you want it to be a painting. And that's not how you paint those. Like you paint in base colors, right? You paint in secondary base colors, you know? You paint in wash, which is, if this is fake, then that's kind of how that was done. Like you paint a base color, then you take water and paint and you dilute it a lot, and then you wash over it to make those cracks and crevices and textures pop out even more. It's not easy.
Hopefully one of the first things next year. This one, beautiful upon first glance.
I do not like portraits. I've already said this. I'm so tired of seeing just a portrait. I personally painted portraits, and I guess that's why they stand out to me so much. I don't like seeing portraits. I'm so tired of it.
Nice colors, everything looks clean, always a plus. But if you go close, you see that the paint is very dry. I don't mind it in areas like these, but when you come to areas like the eyes here, I think this dryness that comes from only using very little paint and also painting on a painting surface that's very textured doesn't really help with the overall image. From a bit further away, you don't really notice, but when you're up close, I think a bit more paint would vastly improve the overall.
I think like a lot of this video, myself included, that's more of a preference, because I personally love texture in painting. I don't like the smoothness, right? I like to see the grittiness of the paper when you're drawing. One of my favorite artists is Sean Tan. I think I said his name right. Sean Tan, The Arrival, and it was a book. That was like pushed on to me in a class. And one of the things I liked the most about his work was this like grittiness that kind of fell through the artwork. Right? He's talking about painting, sure, and this one was pencil or ink, but that's what made it feel alive to me. You know, it's what made it feel like it had age to it. You can kind of still see it up in here as well. When you're next to the pages, you can really see it. You know, this texture, and I adore that. Oh my god! The scratchiness, the texture. But the only thing I don't like is when the texture isn't equalized or contrasts properly through the artwork. Right, as you can see here, it's very soft, the texture all the way through the artwork. It's kind of getting a bit dominant up in here a little bit, but it's you know, it equals out over in here. But when it's like, I don't know, when it's not that, I really don't like it. I had dreams about this, man. I loved this artwork. And it's so simplistic. Look at this. Triangle, triangle, triangle. Oval, you know, or arch, line, triangle, line. I remember thinking that this was a beautiful book.
Image. But other than that, it's a great painting. I don't think there's an issue with placing a figure or a subject into a corner or right at the side of a painting surface, but having this much empty space here does create a disbalance between different areas of a painting surface. But this is a compositional issue. This has nothing to do with the painting or the subject or anything. It's just having this big of a contrast here makes it a bit strange. Or you would have to extend it even more, and then it does start to make more sense again. But
the only thing that I'm seeing is shadows. Right? It looks like the light is like kind of hitting from this angle, right? And his face does look a little bit distorted and stretched, but the shadow on the shoulder is non-existent, right? The shadow, as it's like this arm's being picked up a little bit, also doesn't really look like it's there. Maybe it's hitting a certain
I
way.
feel like there's a bit of a disbalance.
You can't see it from that angle.
Give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below if you liked it. Become a patron if you want to see more videos like this in the future. And speaking of the future, my next video, I don't want to say too much, but I think you already know what's coming, and it's something else. So see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good one.
It'd be awfully weird if I did like, I was gonna say like, hey, I did a reaction to your video, but it'd be awfully weird if he's like just my red face down in the corner now that I'm looking at myself. All over here and stuff. I couldn't, bro. That'd kill me. Kill me. Never do this. Should we look at another one?
Charmin Ultra Soft is
Like
twice as
2
absorbent.
hours.
So you
How long did it take? I need to refix my microphone. I deleted the options. I'm pretty sure I deleted the options. I haven't fixed that mic yet. Let's see how long we've been going. I have 1 view. It doesn't tell you. Either way, I'm getting tired. It's time for me to go bed. Go night.
Fix is pretty much guaranteed to be snake oil. Now that we have alienated half of the viewers looking to become master artists after watching a 10-minute video, we can finally get to the... So you really want to know, huh? Okay then. Today I'll tell you the most important things that you need to know if you want to become better at art and become a...
better and faster. Learn the foundations. Learn the foundations of what art is. Learn them bitches. Stick to them. Breathe them. Make it to where it's seamless, that you're not even paying attention to the foundations. And what are you trying to do? Before you even start doing artwork or painting or anything like that, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to express yourself? Are you trying to express an emotion? Are you trying to express a feeling, an event? Right? What are you trying to do? Are you just trying to be the best photorealistic painter in the world with booger paint? I don't know, something crazy, right? Learn the foundations, understand what you're trying to do, and then understand how you want to get from point A to point B, you know?
better artist faster. The first 2 things you need to know are this. Getting better at art is an utterly meaningless statement. Which art? Getting better at what aspect of it? Better how, exactly? More likes? More realism?
I didn't really hear what he had to say just then. I'm kind of just thinking about what I'm going to say next a little bit, but it's true. Artwork has devolved into this, I don't know, just thing that people throw around, right? A lot of times people aren't even real artists. They just make shit. I hate that I'm that type of person sitting in a dark room just mad at the world. But it's true. Artwork also isn't the best artist in the world. Like, he makes beautiful paintings, But I would never buy any of his work. I would never buy any of his. I wouldn't put any of his stuff on my walls because they're just portrait paintings. You know, they're pretty paintings. They're executed beautifully, smooth, and the blending of colors on the canvas is amazing. But I don't feel like there's any expression in any of that work. None of it sticks out to me because it's not telling me that type of story. Art is in the eye of the beholder, but the artist has to express themselves in a certain way, you know, for a consumer to want him, I guess. But essentially, the whole reason you click on a video like this is I've gone off track. Let's go back to the roots. Art is expressive. Point blank and period. It is expressive. Now, whether that expression is I want to paint beautiful landscapes or I want to describe my time in Guantanamo Bay for 13 minutes and 59 seconds at one time, right? It's expressive. Now, whether or not you paint something that's a block of cheese to express that event in your life, because that's how you want to express it, you are the person that ultimately decides whether or not you've done that execution well. And if you feel like you haven't, right, then you need to practice. Why do you feel like you didn't execute that well, right? A person can sit down and tell you how to paint a portrait, cutting it into 3 different places, having squares and circles and triangles and shapes and values and textures. But it's up to you to decide when you're done growing as an artist, when you're done being, you know, getting better. Right? I can sit here all day and tell you, hey, look, this isn't the anatomy of a human arm. You have a shoulder, a bicep, little arm that really doesn't have a lot of, space before it becomes this giant hand, but it's still executed well. It gets its point across, right? Art to you is not the same as art to me, and that's going to be the same for the next person and the next person, right? You're as good as you want to be, and I don't know. Everybody has their own opinion, man. So.
More fast? Nobody knows. Just more better. And secondly, any advice that promises you a solution to your problem in only 1 minute or with just one simple fix is pretty much guaranteed to be snake oil. Now that we have alienated half of the viewers looking to become master artists after watching a 10-minute video, we can finally get to the good stuff. Because instead of offering you a quick fix for a problem you probably don't even have, I would like to provide you with something better. An alternative approach to becoming a better artist. And I'm talking about the catalog of ideas. Now, one quick note for all the people who are only really interested in improving their fundamental skills. How to draw more accurately, how to use color, see proportions. If you want to get better at those things, you have to sit down and practice.
Yes.
Sitting down and drawing or painting a couple of paintings a week won't do it, unfortunately. There is only one way to play the piano well, and that is to play the piano a lot. So, that's that. But now on to the real exciting part.
But also, no. What songs are you trying to play? Are you trying to play Bach, Beethoven? Are you trying to play Goth on the piano? Are you trying to play Korn? Are you trying to play Over the Rainbow? Right? Playing the piano all day, every day is not guaranteed to make you a master at the piano. It's not even guaranteed to make you good at the piano. You can play the same song till your heart's content. But if you don't know how to fix the things you want to improve on, you'll never become the artist you want to be, right? If you're sitting here and you're only focusing on how to create a character, and that's it, then when the time comes up for you to describe the world that this character is in, and that's something you want to do the most, and it falls short, that's on you because you haven't practiced how to create an environment. You haven't practiced how to paint a cockatiel or something. You have to practice on these things individually to get better at what you want, right? You can paint portraits all damn day long, but if you want to be a better artist, a faster artist, and more expressive, you have to focus on those particular tasks, those things. If you want, say, for instance, to paint animals, then learn how to paint animals, right? Study their biology, study their anatomy, study their colors, the shapes of their muscular forms. You're not going to be good at being an artist because you draw a bunch of horses, right? Or maybe you are. Again, it's up to you and your audience. Like, for instance, Zaza, right? He's a very cartoonish artist and he draws a lot of cartoons, but I feel like he's lacking, right? I just do. I feel like there's things that he's lacking, but he feels like he's accomplished. So I'm not gonna, like that's up to him. That's up to him to be that person. But if you're here to be faster, better, and stronger, what are you lacking in? Practice that. If you're lacking in speed, but you already feel like you're good, then just keep painting. Do as he says. Keep painting. Keep painting. Keep painting. That will get you faster. Right? If you're trying to be the world's fastest painter in the world, then you got some hurdles to jump over, kid. You got some things to learn, some techniques that you gotta really figure out. But if you're just like trying to be better at something, what are you trying to be better at?
How can you become a better artist? Well, for that we actually have to talk about writing for a change. Or more specifically, how to write a good scene. Let me explain. Let's say you're asked to write a knife fighting scene in...
Let's stop it again. Bro, look at those colors. That's purple. That's purple and blue and fucking turquoise and Jesus.
Say, a Chinatown. Since we're painting John Wick here, I think that's kinda apt. You probably could do that, right? There's an argument between two guys, maybe some trash talking, stabby, one guy kicks
Beautiful.
the bucket, the end. Now the question is, what do you need to write such a scene, but do it masterfully? A scene that's so good that it gets your heart racing and makes you eager to turn the pages. Well, for one, you need to have a large vocabulary. The more words you have in your repertoire, the more freedom of choice you have when you're describing something. In our knife fighting scene, one guy can, of course, stab the other guy, but he can also pierce, slash, slice, or wound him. The same thing with a slightly different impact. The next thing you will need, ideally, is the ability to describe the action more figuratively. One guy can swing his knife and cut his opponent, but if the same guy's knife cuts through the air and the tip of the blade pierces his opponent's flesh, that's a whole different level of knife cuttery. Okay, what else do you need if you want to write a knife fighting scene set in a Chinatown?
Castrol Edge is 3 times
Castrol.
synthetic. Castrol Edge.
I'm getting sleepy. It's probably definitely gonna be the last video I'm going to bed.
Knowing a thing or two about Chinatowns and knife fights. It seems like such an obvious thing, but most people don't realize how profound this point is. Because you can't write about things you don't know about. If you don't know what a Chinatown is, you also can't describe it. And then, all this things could be taking place anywhere. If you never had a knife fight, or have no idea about fighting in general, you probably can't write a believable fight scene either. But suppose you can describe the shop signs, the lanterns, the architecture, the sounds, the smells, the foods, and everything that's going on around the characters. Well, in that case, you not only can properly set the stage,
Beautiful.
but you also have lots of options to choose from. And you can even be selective about the information you share. Now, here comes the interesting part. We now have an idea about what it might take to write a gripping scene in which two people have a knife fight in a Chinatown.
Is this oil?
What if you wanted to start with a blank page? What if you wanted to write an epic story, but you don't even know what you want to write about? Well, wouldn't it be helpful to have options to pick from? To know stuff?
Yes.
To have ideas?
Maybe.
Imagine having the freedom to choose from dozens of different settings and genres. A crime story set in medieval times, or a mystery thriller in ancient Egypt, or some road trip novel about two vampires and their pet crocodile. But here's the
I'm so
thing.
tired I've forgotten where he's
Write a
going
story
with
about
this.
things you know nothing about. The only way you could write about these things is if you either research them or, over time, build up a catalog of ideas and information that you can draw from. That finally brings us back to becoming better artists. You can't use a technique that's foreign to you. You can't paint in a style you haven't seen before, and you can't express or reference things in your art that you don't know about. One of the best and fastest ways to improve as an artist is to expose yourself to things that will enrich your art in the future and help you build yourself a catalog of ideas. Don't get me wrong, it's essential to look at art and work on your skills. But just like how it's not enough to read and write more if you want to write better books, it's also not enough to look at art all the time if you want to become a better artist. You also need a treasure trove of ideas so that when the time comes, you aren't limited by all the things you don't know. History,
Scared the shit out of me.
movies, games, architecture, religion, all of these things can be sources for ideas and inspiration. But also other creative fields like photography, sewing, crafting, digital art, or blacksmithing even. All of which implement completely unique techniques and concepts that you probably haven't even thought of before. So what it comes down to is this: do stuff, try stuff, consume stuff. Surround yourself with things.
He's kind of. I mean, he's right in a sense, but that's if your work is lacking, right? In the regards to getting your point across, right? If that's what your problem is, if your problem is getting your point across and you don't understand why it's not working, then you need to experience life more so that you can understand how to say to somebody, hey, look, this is how I feel about this, or this is how this should be, this should be coming across to you, right? For instance, a good example that I would have that I don't feel like a lot of people who would be watching this have is growing up in like the projects, right? Growing up in poverty, or growing up in poverty, right? So I can't just paint a painting of broken gravel roads and a fence that's rusted and falling apart with vines growing up into it and having like these little pockets of dead plants that when you pop it open, little flowery white things come out, right? I can't paint that and expect for you to understand that that's me walking to school in St. Louis, right? What you would probably jump to from that description would be something along the lines of a decaying city, or Middle Eastern even. Like that's, you jump to current topics in your head rather than a broad statement of anywhere. And see, this, my analogy that I just gave is backwards even. The person who is perceiving the artwork hasn't lived a life fulfilled enough to understand where a person is coming from. But in vice versa, if you are an artist who is just starting off and all you know is your family and your home, then it's hard for you to portray, like he says, a knife fight and for people to understand what you're trying to say. Because although you understand what you're trying to say, this is a fight to the death, it doesn't look like that to us. It looks like two people holding a knife in a dance room, Nobody's running around, nobody's freaking out, they're just holding knives, you know what I mean?
Things that will benefit
The
your art in
poses
the
aren't
future.
there or something.
And be open to finding inspiration and sources for inspiration in places that you haven't considered before. And I even have some practical advice.
Don't go to the projects. Don't do
Something
that.
that will get you going in the right direction. But before we get to that, I'd like to thank this video sponsor, who couldn't be more fitting for a topic like today's, and that is Skillshare. Skillshare is a great online learning community where people like you and I can get creative and learn new skills. Drawing, writing, making videos, you name it. They have thousands of classes on all kinds of different topics, and those can be a perfect starting point for a little spark of inspiration. Take a look at Kao Yoshida here and her Skillshare class, Mixed Media Animation, blending stop motion and illustration. A perfect example of what you can do and how creative you can be when you have many skills to draw from. And at just $10 a month for an unlimited premium membership, it also doesn't break the bank. But since they're sponsoring this video, the first 1,000 who click the link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium. So I highly encourage you guys to make use of that.
This
Now,
was 1 year
what
ago.
does this all mean? Well, it means
He lost it.
things out there that will make you a better artist that have nothing to
Good.
do with
And he
working on
lost it.
fundamental
Now it just
skills.
looks like a
Essential
robotic.
skills are important, but more important than that is your style and creativity. It's what makes the difference between average and exceptional artists.
Yes.
And for a change, I don't want to leave you with an abstract idea or concept and let you figure things out on your own, because I know how overwhelming this sometimes is and how helpful a push in the right direction can be. So instead, I want to give you some practical advice. 6 things that will get you started in the right direction to becoming a human weapons arsenal for creativity. And I don't mean 6 things that you can choose from. I mean 6 things that you ideally do over the next couple of weeks. Make yourself a dish for dinner that you've never eaten or heard of before.
I do that all
Play
the
one
time.
game that you've never played before. Video game, board game, with or without people, doesn't matter.
I also
Just
do
play
that.
a game. Watch a documentary about a subject you know nothing
I
about.
also do that.
Create one artwork in a completely different medium than what you're used to.
Do not do that.
Read or listen to one book about a subject you're curious about. Think of
don't
a
do that.
question, something you don't know, maybe haven't even thought of before, and then research it or look up
I
the answer.
sometimes do that.
And this could be anything. What's the oldest book in the world? How is a movie made? Or how did people in ancient Rome work clever?
The other day, I was looking up. What was it? Like, I'm a carpenter, and I've worked on houses. I've tore down garages, but I've never built anything from the foundation up. And so the other day, I just spent all day just watching how to put up houses from the foundation. So, like, I know that you need certain studs to lay down to put B stud on top of. I understand now why there was always a flat, like, board above a window to distribute, like, the weight out. I get that, you know, that was also another thing that you could do inside kitchens or certain bedrooms, like hang things on our bathrooms, to hang things off of walls.
If you don't know, by the way,
That's why I was like that.
answer-
Like, I tore those things down and I
If
put
anyone of
back
you is
up
daring and
drywall. But
adventurous enough to take up this little challenge, I would love to hear about your thoughts and experiences in the comments down below. And maybe even share this video with your friends so we can all finally become more better artists faster. Now, big thank you to all my lovely patrons for having my back and supporting the channel and allowing me to occasionally make some more thought-heavy videos like this one without having to cave into the YouTube algorithm all the time. And if you want to support the channel too, or are feeling especially adventurous today,
I think we use the
comment
same
down
type of
below
paint.
and give the video a thumbs up. Or become a channel supporter yourself.
It's a good paint.
And with that,
I
friends,
like it.
we're gonna bring this video to an end.
It's not as runny
Thank
as
you all so much
Master
for
Touch.
watching. Happy
But I still
creating
use
to all of
Master
you
Touch
out
for
there,
certain other
and
things.
yeah, have a good one.
A good one. He's an amazing artist, man. I love his work. Look at that. It's beautiful. Ah, so beautiful. Let's see. Ooh. Patrons, paintings. Oh, so nice. See, like, look at that. Look how much more that stands out. I don't know if maybe because he put it on Instagram. Instagram really fucks with paintings for some reason. Oh, it's so pretty. That saturation's so nice. Oh, it's so pretty. That's a bit lacking. But we can't all be winners. I think what would have made that cooler if it was just like that one of those cheap like $15 easels with a canvas on it. He's like looking at the canvas, just kind of sitting there. This is so well executed. The colors are drifting into a slightly darker desaturated as it comes back towards you, which almost makes it look more saturated. And there's just a thin line, right? Just a thin line, and it looks like a real wall. That's all it is. Just one color with a monochromatic color and a line. Beautifully executed. Something's going on there. In fact, all of this up here kind of feels like he sort of gave up on how to describe it. This was his favorite part. That is so beautiful. The value, so tight, colors ranging all in different types. My biggest problem is like when I start painting, I want to finish the painting just like that. Like as soon as I start it, I want to finish it. Like one of my biggest paintings I ever painted was Cypher. And go try to figure it. Just use the ginger. I painted her in 3 hours, right? And that was one of the few paintings where I went back to it actually and spent like a fourth hour. I did say 3, but it was around about 4 hours. And I really, really put a lot of work into it. But if you look at a lot of my things, a lot of them are paintings that I really didn't work on. I just kind of just threw together within like a 3-hour time frame. Those eyes are lacking. They're hollow. Ah. This is kind of what I meant by paint the hair, not the strands. Like, there's a shade, color, saturation. This nose is so beautiful. It kind of feels like he didn't finish this one. He worked on it down here a little bit. On here, maybe. It's like this texture kind of thing, but then just sort of just let it draw out. The portrait. A gator. It's a gator. Got this. This little dragonfly. It's like being reflected. That's something else that you'll notice, right? With people who put all of their eggs into one basket, and he's kind of guilty about this, is that these portraits are amazing, right? Beautiful, fair skin, different tones, but as soon as you go to like the gator, it doesn't really match up, right? It doesn't even kind of look like the same artist. And the problem is that he understands how to portray a portrait to a T, and he's become renowned for that. But it leaves him no time to practice on any of these other things. Right? He understands how to execute it. He's done it. He's done it well. This is a gator. I know what this is, or maybe a crocodile. I actually don't know. But this is a lizard of some kind swimming in water, right? But you can't deny that it's not on par with this, right? These little soft greens and yellows and browns and purples and blues. And he forgets how to do that when he comes to these gators and things like this. And That's because he put all of his eggs into the portrait basket. It's what he liked doing. It's what he got his most amount of praise from. Same kind of go for this here. But I think more along the lines of it just kind of gave up, you know. You see a lot of things when they just don't have any texture. They kind of got their point across. Just kind of leave it like that. A lot of artists will do that. See, even like this isn't really a technical portrait like he did. I'm assuming he's used a photo reference. That's what it looks like anyways. But like you look at this, and you look at this, and like the values don't even kind of even seem the same, right? It's not the shapes of the individual body parts of this thing isn't matching up. Like this isn't flat back here. It's like kind of curving up to the side a little bit, you know. Like that hair, beautifully done, right? It's very simplistic. Values are there. It's nice. Same goes for this, man. It's so well done. Notice how we're not really seeing any other animals. There's not a lot of architecture that he's doing either. Right. We'll jump right back into a safe zone that he executes so well. Actually, if I remember correctly, while I was painting Cypher, I'm pretty sure I was watching some of his videos at that time too. It was the what is it, Hellboy one that he had come out. I think that's when he kind of like really blew up too, about 3 or 4 years ago. And I remember I was watching that too because it was showing me like how to use yellow to highlight red surfaces instead of white, which would desaturate it. And that's kind of what he's doing here too. We'll use the yellows to really pop these skin tones instead of white. And it works, man. It works. Ugh. You know something I just realized, and it almost started to make me cry just then? One of the reasons why I don't feel like I'm an artist is because I don't pay attention to the greats. Like, I don't have a list of artists that I'll watch and, like, I'll know. And yet, here I am talking about somebody that I've been paying attention to for, like, the last 3 years of my life. Right? This would be, like, the artist you compare yourself to. And I have that. That's a little check on a box in my head that's like, you're not an artist yet. Because you don't pay attention to the greats. You don't learn your history of art. And here goes a guy who's constantly making artwork that I can compare myself to, that I do compare myself to. And here we are talking about his artwork, so that's crazy. Where are your shadows, bro? Why is she so dark and there's no shadows? Where are your shadows? Where are they? Where are your textures, too? Come on, man. That's still so beautifully executed. You see what I kind of mean about the animals, though? The values are kind of lost. It's like he's afraid to really get in there deep to get those dark tones up in there. This is still done very well, this wall. He did it again, man. That looks like I could touch that. That's very nicely done. This hair is amazing. But yeah. What you got for sale, bud? Yeah, go buy some of this. Sold out. I didn't know you could buy more than one. Like, look at that. It's so pretty. This is actually a video of his. So pretty. Are these prints? Are you selling this shit for $1,000 a piece? This piece of paper? I'm struggling to pay rent. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get evicted this month, man. Homeboy selling pieces of paper for $1,000. This is another artist that I followed quite a bit. Just because of the weird, like, hellish landscapes he draws. Nothing compares to Proco. Proco, and who else do I really like watching? I really like watching Babasucci. What's his name? What's your name? Say my name, say my name. Marco Busecci? Marco Bublé? Marco Booby. Is there like a drawing one I could look at? Video editing. I need to be going to bed, man. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. Fuck. I keep sharing his work too. Why can't I remember it? Kobuchi. I really like his work. I follow him. He kind of looks like that guy that's like the UFC fighter announcer. But he's also one that I really like watching. Like, he has such a firm grasp on what art is. It's sickening. But
I do thrive on the edge.
he doesn't. He uses it to create like these, I don't know, little kitty thingies, which isn't bad. It's just to have all of the skills you have, man. You could be making some crazy shit. And sometimes it does turn out pretty cool. Like this one turned out really, really pretty. Look at all these little individual colors. He's talking about color harmony in this one.
Degrees of gray, as we've seen. And just one last note on process. I find that starting in color rather than black and white really allows you to embed and build and discover your color harmony as you're also building your shapes and values and edges.
It's like, bro, you could be dogging up over here with this guy in the design department, because I know you have that skill. Like, I know you got that skill, bro. I know you got that dog. What's up? And he'll paint stuff like that, which again is fine. I would much prefer. I would actually probably buy something like this to put on my wall before something like that.
Giving your colors time to play out like that, just like a real conversation, is a great way to find all the nuances and ultimately come out with the strongest possible meaning.
If you were to learn, like, how to be, if you already understand the foundations of artwork and you want to take your foundations to the next level, this is the guy to do it, man. This is the dude. It used to be Proco, but I don't know. It kind of felt like he turned into a cash grab for a second there, right? And then he was like trying to blow up his channel, and now that he's at the top, he kind of just gives out lessons for free almost, which makes me feel even more icky about the situation following him when I was a kid. It's like, I don't know. I just didn't like it. Didn't like that. He's really good at art too, in the technical sense, and I love seeing him get into the expressive part of art, which you're just kind of making things as you go along. Because I feel like he could make some really cool stuff. I'm always into the expressive part, right? The technical part is great and all, and it let you get your point across, but the expressive part has always been where it's at for me. If I can make a hippo look like he's trying to talk to you and excited about some grapes, man, that's cooler to me than another portrait of Beauty and the Beast. Like, I'm tired of seeing it. So, poco. Creation art. Gotta have it, man. Gotta have it. I have troubles with this. There's a reason why the AI systems fucking suck at painting hands. It's because they suck. Hands suck. They suck. But set up stuff. Birth of Halo. I wish that if I, I'm calling you out. If you end up doing this, and I don't take it anywhere, then that's on me. But if there was a website where it was just this, it was just like music, and you're able to pass through images of highly creative concept designs, and that's it. Just like this, just on full screen. That's all it was. Then that's where it's at, man. No like black borders or anything like that. High definition, so you can see all the details. Ah, it feels so good. I don't know if that already exists. I bet it does. I just haven't seen it yet. But so nice. So nice. All right, so that's it. That's all I was gonna talk about today. Go check out those artists. Thank you for watching. It's been 2 hours. It's not so bad. I thought it was a lot longer than that. It feels like it. I'm just tired. And check out my Instagram, which isn't under my face anymore. Bloop, there it is. Hey, check it out.